What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with none other than the Nigerian wolf, Samson Dauda. So Samson is truly one of those guys, one of those few athletes who can never look flat, no matter how low he is on the food. I mean, look at this right now. He has been suffering harder than he has ever suffered before. He has been on the low carbs for so many weeks now, but still doesn't even look like that is missing any pop in this 20 days old physique update. So I believe this year is gonna be the real test for Samson Dauda. I mean, there is literally zero margin for error. For him and for everyone else for that matter. Especially those guys who are gonna be potentially in that top 6. Because if any of these guys miss just by a little bit, they can drop down some placings. And that too multiple of those. Because that is how close the competition is looking right now. And we are so ready for this battle between Samson Dauda and Andrew Jacked. Because if both these guys, they bring the condition, they bring their all-time best, it's gonna be a legendary battle. Two guys who both have super aesthetic builds, very classic, both over 6 feet tall, both have incredible size, and it is gonna be so amazing to see, both of them battling it out for the top spot. Now we have heard this so many times before, that if Samson Dauda brings the condition, if he can bring the same condition as Derek or Hadi, he is gonna be Miss Olympia. But we do not know whether that's even possible for Samson or not, because that's just his genetics. But there is an immense amount of detail in his physique at the moment that we have never seen before. So will that be enough to put him in that winner circle at the Olympia level? Well, only 19 more days to find that out. Next up is the physique update of Breon Anderson. So this is undoubtedly the best from lat spread I have ever seen on Breon. He looks so damn massive. And just look at those lats. I'm gonna say this again. Never count out Breon, because he is always 100% on the day of the show. So since 2016, when Breon made his Olympia debut in Classic, he was maxed out right there and then. And credit goes to him and his coach and his trainer Chris Cormier for polishing that physique every year. And while all the other guys, like Arash Rahbar and Danny Hester, who were the top guys at that time, they are nowhere on the scene. I mean, they're both retired now. Breon, on the other hand, he isn't only just here. He has been placing so well, despite all those genetic freaks coming into the division every single year. But on the flip side, he needs to be realistic about his goal for the Olympia this year. Because the thing is, there isn't a lot in his physique that can change from this point onwards. Because the thing is, he has to make that weight cutoff. And he is gonna be a smaller version of what we are seeing right now. And we have seen that happen so many times before. That he loses a lot of pop and a lot of density on his legs when he makes that weight cutoff. So the highest I see him placing at the Olympia this year, that is 4th. And even that is gonna be such a big win, because to do that, he has to beat a guy like Orska Lashinsky, who has been beating him at the Olympia level for the last 2 years. So we cannot expect a lot to change in his physique from Dubai Pro to the Olympia this year. And his look at the Arnold earlier this year, that was a more competitive one in my opinion, especially in comparison to Dubai Pro. So Breon is training for his 9th consecutive Miss Olympia. So will the young guys take over? Or will Breon stay in the top 5? Do let me know what you guys think. Next up is the update of Will Foda. So people do not call him the next big thing for no reason, as it was evident this year when Foda really came into his own and he won Chicago Pro, and that too in a very dominating fashion. Now if he had a better back, or maybe if he was in a better condition at Tampa Pro, he would have denied John De Rosa his Olympia qualification, and he would have probably won Tampa Pro as well. So the guy is so damn huge, especially from the front, and of course from the side as well. And his 2 front shots, the front double biceps and the front lat spread, they are such money shots for him, and some of the best in the game. So Foda has been keeping his head down ever since this year's Tampa Pro. And the last physique update that we saw from him, they were taken at 4.5 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia. Now when those updates came out, Foda himself admitted that he doesn't look as shredded or as peeled as some of the other guys are. But him and his coach Stefan do have a plan. So I have no idea whether they are trying to come in heavier or maybe a bit more fuller for this year's Miss Olympia compared to what we saw at Tampa Pro. But in my opinion, that can be kinda risky. But one thing is absolutely clear from their plan, that they just did not want to be ready weeks out of the show. And they are gonna be ready on the day of the show. So other than the fact that Foda has a weaker back, the reason he lost to John in Tampa Pro this year, that was because his conditioning at that show that wasn't as impressive as John's. So the judges would like to see better condition at his Olympia debut this year. The question is, if he can do that, will he be able to crack top 10? Next up, we have a physique update from the German bodybuilding legend, Dennis Wolf. So Wolf is back to eating clean and regular meals, especially in these last few months, and he is up 12 pounds. So would Dennis Wolf still be competing if it wasn't for his neck injury that forced him to retire? And that happened back in 2016. Well, he is currently 45 years old, and that injury happened almost a decade ago. So there is a high likelihood that he would have retired by now. But he really felt that he could have had a shot at the Olympia title, especially after 2018 when Phil Heath lost. But still, the man had a great career. So he made his Olympia debut back in 2007, and almost every bodybuilding fan have seen that 07 version of Dennis Wolf. And even to this day, that is probably one of his all-time best. Now, even though he had young muscles back then, but he had unbelievable roundness and fullness that year. So 2013 was the year when Dennis Wolf actually peaked, and that was the year he was able to place top 3 in the world, behind Phil Heath and Kai Green. And some people actually had him ahead of Kai Green that year. So looking back at Dennis's physique, back in his prime, he really had that ideal physique to win the Olympia in that era. Big flaring quads, small waist, wide lats, and he opened up wider than everyone else in all of those Olympia lineups. But that also goes to show us how dominant Phil Heath was back in his prime, and he kept on beating all these guys, and that too with so much ease. Next up is the full-blown physique update of Nathan Dasa, who is well in his off-season at the moment. So he got on the stage today for a guest posing, and boy oh boy, he has been eating a lot since his last show, which was Dubai Pro. And before anyone starts pointing out that he has a gut, well, this is how Nathan deals with the off-season. So he isn't the most ripped guy out there, like for instance Derek Lunsford, who just stays lean all year round. Nathan, on the other hand, he likes to lift heavy and have good food as well. So will Nathan ever compete at the Olympia? I'm gonna say unlikely, because the Olympia is just another bodybuilding show for him now. He keeps on adding more pro wins in his resume, and his goal is to have 20 pro wins before he hangs up that posing trunk. So if I'm not mistaken, he is at either 11 or 12 pro wins at the moment. And 20 pro wins, that is still a long way to go. So out of those 3 shows that he did this year, his look at Flex Pro Italy, that was extremely competitive. Now if only he would have somehow kept his waistline in check and bring that same fullness, he could have beat Behrouz Tabani. I mean, Nathan was so full in Italy that his obliques were also filled out. And because of that, he had a little distension on the stage. So after Dorian Yates and now Samson Dauda, he is one of the best bodybuilders to represent UK. And maybe he will change his mind and go for the Olympia once again before he retires. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.